Hey, hope everybody's doing well. My name is Dan Heilbron, and I'll be talking a little bit about my background and my journey as a designer. So I grew up in Costa Rica, and as some of you might know, this is one of the most biodiverse countries globally. So being exposed to all this beautiful environment and nature from early on truly got me fascinated, and we, as a family, tried to keep exploring new places and going on hikes and constantly being outside, taking all this beauty in. And I think it for sure had a lot to do with that passion that I have for environmental conservation and sustainability that I use to this day. And more importantly, trying to be a part of a solution to our environmental crisis. So speaking of, whenever I would go hiking, I would always come across so much trash and specifically affecting the wildlife and the scenery and eventually us. So I kept thinking to myself, what can I do to make a difference and try to incite change, not only in my family, but also in other people. So I started picking up the trash and more importantly, creating that awareness by documenting my process and showing people exactly what I would find and where those sources might be coming from. So trying to tie the pollution back to the original cause or the original root of the problem. So primarily manufacturing of disposable packaging and products that are not made of materials that are compatible with the natural systems of our planet, so they end up just sitting there and practically degrading the environment around them and the whole ecosystem. So trying to set the example by picking this trash and creating that awareness and hopefully inciting and encouraging people to demand better from their companies and to hold off from buying those disposable plastic materials or packages, and eventually trying to be part of that bigger picture, providing that sustainable alternative to all these materials that we currently use. So tying this back a little bit to my design career, I started in automotive design my first year and a half of school here in College for Creative Studies. I can't say I was doing very well. I was completely lost. I felt unfulfilled and very insecure about what I was doing with my career. And a lot of it has to do with that in the back of my head, I knew that I had neglected that true passion that I had for social and environmental responsibility. So considering this, I tried to leave this creative field multiple times, but then I came to realize that if I truly wanted to provide or contribute to a solution, I needed to stay in design and help people, and especially big companies, create those innovations that are going to eventually provide that positive change towards a future that we want to live in. So that kind of grounded me back and allowed me to follow that true calling that I had for sustainability, especially in our material environment. So this gets me to where I am today, a junior in product design, minoring in sustainability and social responsibility. Um, a big part of why I ended up in this path is being exposed to that third world experience, seeing people struggle on the daily and have difficulty getting a good standard of living, and the disparities that exist within developing countries. It really motivated me to try and design for help and design for helping people improve their living standards and get a decent life, and everybody being able to have that chance at a opportunable future. So I decided to start in design, encouraging and creating that kind of disruption that would end up leading us toward a more positive direction in social, environmental, and economic standpoints. So this project right here is the most meaningful project I've done. It's very powerful to me because it was the first time that I allowed myself to design something impactful. And so it was kind of that gateway between my switch from transportation design into industrial and product design. And the basic idea of this project was tapping into um, my realization of the great disparity between the living standards of the rich and the poor that I was exposed to in Costa Rica. And coming across the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, it really allowed me to put kind of like a task in my to-do list, being able to tie it back and try to solve the problems that they have already kind of put together so designers and creatives and leaders can incite and kind of envision that future that is equitable for everybody. So I finished this project. I designed stackable, affordable housing for low-income individuals and families to be able to have as much of a chance of living a decent, suitable life as anybody else. And I had the privilege to submit it to an environmental and social design competition. And being part of that environment, being part of that experience really allowed me to understand that I really wasn't alone in wanting to create a more inclusive and sustainable future and using design as a tool to get us there. So learning from the experience the organization taught me was primarily that having a positive impact and doing what I love is truly possible. You just have to be very determined to bring your visions to life. And I think that was the biggest step for me. A big inspiration that I have, and I keep reminding myself, is this quote right here. Um, be the change you want to see in the world. And I truly believe it speaks for itself. It's very powerful trying to embody that vision of a more equitable and just future for everybody and putting that into concrete, tangible solutions that can actually get us a step further into progress. So thank you so much. I hope you learned a little bit more about me and the reasoning of many of my projects and many of my engagements in activities that I do on the daily. So I hope to hear everybody's intro as well. Thank you.